I've been teaching public speaking for almost 2 decades now, and while many things have changed in these past 20 years, some things have not. Like the prevalent human fear of public speaking. Why haven't we made much progress on this front? And what is it about the scenario of standing in front of an audience that makes it so scary? Let's look at a related situation. Stranger danger. Did your parents or other adults teach you this phrase as a way to keep you safe? Did you use it to try to protect your own children? How many children have heard these two fear-fueled words, leading them to believe from a very early age that others are dangerous? You see, I believe fear scenarios like these are tied to our human history. The earliest humans needed to be part of a group to survive. So the story of fear written into our genetic code is that if we get isolated from the group, we could die. This deep, often subconscious fear leads to college students in a completely safe classroom standing up in front of a group of smiling peers, but shaking as if their life was in danger. Somewhere within them lies this deeply etched message. If you screw this up, you could be ostracized from your group, and that's going to be the end of you. So the story that underwrites our human experience travels this path between cooperation with the other, working together to meet our needs and build something meaningful, and competition with the other, assuring the best and largest portion of the resources for those we deem to be in our tribe. And in order to cooperate or compete, we put out something I call rhetorical energy. Rhetoric is energy expended to share with and convince others of the narrative we believe to be true. It could be a story or a painting or a disapproving look, but it could also be something like the social construction of race. Because rhetorical energy is born out of the need to protect what is ours. Our group, our truth, our property, our vision, our reality. And that rhetorical energy can be a force of great beauty. But too often, it is tainted by that evolutionary force of fear. A code that has long been written in our brains and in our bodies. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So in the 1960s, a man by the name of Sylvan Tompkins developed something he called affect theory to help explain human experience. And instead of the stimulus response explanation that had been popularized, he said we were missing a step, something he called the affect. So Tompkins believed that with all of the input we take in, we needed something to organize stimuli and experience, so we create what he calls scripts. Our brains and bodies catalog and group experiences, allowing us to interpret, evaluate, predict, produce, and control similar scenes. But here's the problem. As long as the script that we are following is a fear-based one, we'll live on the end of the spectrum of human interaction and experience, called competition. You see, fear has a unique and powerful way of lodging in both our brains and in our bodies. So let's take a look inside. When we encounter a stimulus, our vagus nerve kicks into action. The vagus nerve is the longest of our cranial nerves, connecting the brain to the face, to the thorax, and to the abdomen. It is literally the thread that stitches brain and body together. So when we encounter a stimulus, it could be a message or a person or a truck which swerves into our lane. The job of our vagus nerve is to quickly make a decision about whether that stimulus is safe or dangerous. But here's the thing. We might believe this to be a one-way flow of information, sensory input moving into our brains and bodies to create meaning. But neuroscientific research has proven that's not the case. Neuroscientist David Engelman says that when we attempt to create meaning using sensory input, there is often 6 times as much information activated inside the brain as there is coming in from the outside. And that suggests that at any one moment, what we experience as seeing relies less on the light streaming into our eyes and more on what's already inside our heads. So when I stand up to deliver a speech, or when I see a black man, my ears and eyes are taking in sensory information, but my brain is relying much more heavily on what is already inside me, the connections and pathways previously established in my brain, to create meaning. In other words, public speaking is scary because at some point, pathways in our brains have been built and reinforced to categorize this experience as dangerous, creating a script. But what if we could rewrite that script? Neuroscience has proven the incredible plasticity of the human brain. With intent and work, we can alter the pathways our brains travel. We can change the fear scripts that underwrite our life experiences. So here are 4 practical and research-based things you can start doing today to rewrite your fear script. First, challenge your labels. So Alison Woodbrooks of Harvard Business School studied what would happen if instead of trying to calm down in the face of fear, that we worked to relabel what our body was experiencing. You see, our bodies react very similarly when we are afraid and when we are excited. Since the reactions are so similar, we just have to switch the way they are categorized in our brain. So instead of saying you're scared of giving a speech, you say you're excited. Let's take this a step farther and use the relabeling technique to help combat racism. What if we made it a practice to relabel in our heads someone of another race every time we pass one? I see a black man coming towards me. Even if I don't consciously think of him as dangerous, I'm aware that I could hold a fear script that could block my rational brain. So I make the preemptive strike. I see him coming, smile, and think, father, brother. I consciously humanize him before I can subconsciously other him. What if I did this every day for a week, a month, a year? How would the pathways in my brain change to fit this new internal script? Second, use your imagination. Now, I get it, this sounds silly, right? But neuroscientists have proven the power of imagination. Brain scans show that in action and imagination, many of the same parts of the brain are activated, and that's why visualizing can improve performance. Need further proof? Doctors have found that a research group who physically exercised a finger muscle increased their muscular strength by 30%. But here's the fascinating part. The research group who only imagined exercising that muscle still improved muscular strength by 22%. So imagining ourselves giving a speech or interacting with someone who is different from us can activate our brains and bodies to help us rewrite the narrative. Third, remember the two-way flow. It would help all of us to remember that there is 6 times the activity already inside our brains trying to create meaning than there is coming from outside stimuli. Instead of thinking of reality as something that is out there, we have to remember that it is something we create and something that we can recreate. Finally, we have to heal our bodies. Resmaa Menakem is a therapist who uses somatic therapy approaches to battle the fear we hold in our bodies. For example, he says that when we notice the fear script take over, we should stop, drop, and roll. Now, you've heard that before, right? But let's hear how it can apply to the fear script. He says to stop whatever you're doing, thinking, or saying in a moment that you notice you're being governed by fear. Then you need to drop back. Pay attention to your body, to where your affects, your emotions are leading you. And then roll with whatever happens next in your body, but don't fight, flee, or freeze. Pay attention to how your body is reacting and why. We must get curious about our internal scripts, especially those written in fear, because only then can we see how they categorize our experiences and control our responses. Bolstered by scientific studies and research which has proven it possible, we can rewrite the deep-seated narrative of fear that governs our effects. And I don't know about you, but I am bursting with hope at what we may at last be able to accomplish in our bodies and brains.